Hello, guys, and welcome back to another Inside My Head video podcast. I'm Jake Ellenbogen, and I'm bringing you guys week 4. I can't believe we're already here. Week 4. I'm going to bring you the picks this week, who I have, break it down a little bit. Those of you who play Pigskin Pick'em, just give you some insight, when you go and you fill out those picks for the week. I will start off because I am one to self-scout, one to admit when I'm wrong. I definitely let people know when I'm right, but I will admit when I'm wrong. We missed Thursday night, but I have to say, I had Chicago winning the game. I gotta tell you, I think Chicago really blows it with Mike Glennon in there at quarterback. I think you saw a team that I don't think they're as bad as they picked this year. They picked third, and they traded up to 2 to get Mitchell Trubisky. I don't think they're that bad. I have them around the 6-10, 5-11 area, but I don't think they're that bad of a team. I think Green Bay has some worries, there. I think it's still a team that's carried by Aaron Rodgers, and they got to get healthy quick because they lost Ty Montgomery to a couple of broken ribs. Jamal Williams, their backup, got hurt, and then they saw Aaron Jones firsthand. Aaron Jones looked pretty good, the rookie. So, we'll see moving forward. But I definitely was not a huge fan of the way the Packers played. I felt as though it was the Aaron Rodgers show, and I felt as though, the Bears, when they were using that hurry-up offense, Glennon was making throws, but when you ask him to read a defense, pick out, coverages and go up to the line and yell who the mic is and make adjustments at the line of scrimmage. I just don't think he can do that. I think he proved that he is a backup quarterback at this stage, and he'll be nothing more than that. One of those plug-and-play starters, I guess. I think Mitchell Trubisky should start next week. But moving into the games, we have the first game. We have the New Orleans Saints, the 1-2 New Orleans Saints, facing the 1-1 because they had the Week 1 bye with the hurricane, Miami Dolphins, and this game is none other than in London. Oh boy! So as we saw last week, I was wrong with the Jacksonville pick. I had the Ravens winning that game. I felt it was going to be very defensive driven. Instead, they gave up 44 points to the Jacksonville Jaguars, made Blake Bortles look like John Elway. That is why it's really hard to predict in the NFL. The NFL is unpredictable. Just when you think you have a win, you have a loss. Just think when you think you have a loss, you have a win. You never know. But this week, I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints. They won last week, just like I had them winning. They really put a beating on Cam Newton, I thought. They put a beating on the Panthers in general with a blowout win. I expect the momentum to carry, and I really like this Miami Dolphins team, and I like Jay Cutler at quarterback. My issue is the fact they don't have a home game for a while because of that bye. That was supposed to be the home game, and just the way the NFL schedule, comes out for them, they're not going to have a home game until after this game. So it's brutal. After the way they played against the Jets, I don't know how you pick them in any game, but I just thought that was a bad game and a bad matchup. The Jets have a great defense, as I've been saying. So I am picking the New Orleans Saints. I think anything can happen in London. I think crazy things happen in London. I think it's sloppy play. But I also think it will be somewhat of a shootout because I just don't think the secondaries are going to be able to stop each other. I think the Saints have a bad secondary still. Things don't always change. So I think you could see a Jay Cutler blow, but I also think that Drew Brees is going to have his way with the Dolphins defense, and so I'm picking the Saints on the road, even though they're both on the road. Moving on, the 2-1 Buffalo Bills are playing the 3-0 Atlanta Falcons in Atlanta. I have the Atlanta Falcons. I don't think they're a 3-0 team. I think they're pretty good, but I think people are making them out to be the best team in the league already. I think it's way too soon. they're a team that are, a couple plays from being 1-2. You can look at the Bears game. Jordan Howard catches that pass. They're probably, win that game. And the Lions, I had the Lions pick last week. I got it wrong, but I got to tell you, hated that. I hated the call. I felt like the refs really made a poor decision. And, so the Falcons, they could be 1-2. Instead, they're 3-0. I think they'll beat the Bills because I don't think there's enough firepower offensively for the Bills. I think Sean McDermott, their head coach, has them playing at a high level on defense. Really impressed with the way they've come out and played. But ultimately, I think you're looking at a Falcons offense that, it's pretty simple. From what I have been reading, they're just pretty much copying what... it's pretty much like Sarkisian is just copying what Shanahan did last year. So, like same exact plays as Greg Cosell put it on the Herd podcast when he was a guest. So I do have the Falcons beating the Bills. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means. I think this is still a Buffalo Bills team that knows how to play defense, and they've looked great doing it. Moving on, I have the NFL has the Cleveland Browns taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals coming off a brutal loss at the hands of Aaron Rodgers in overtime. Fun fact, and I had no idea this was the case, but Aaron Rodgers won his first game in overtime in his career. Before then, he had been, I believe, 0-7, so crazy to think about that. But I have the Browns here. I think these teams have a history when they play each other. They're high scoring. They're brutal. I think you're looking at a team at home. I think Cleveland soon they'll be getting Myles Garrett back. I think he'll be a help. It's always good to have your number one overall pick on the field. I think this Greg Williams defense is going to be aggressive. I think they're going to force turnovers on Andy Dalton, make him try to create some plays. I'm not completely sold on the Cincinnati Bengals, coming back from that loss against the Packers. I think they're, top to bottom, they're probably a better team than the Packers. They just don't have Aaron Rodgers. They have Andy Dalton. And I think you could be seeing A.J. McCarron sooner than later. I'm going to go with the Browns here. I think Deshaun Kaiser, this is the game where he finally kind of shows you why they drafted him in the second round. I think Isaiah Crowell can maintain possession for the Browns, time of possession, keep that rolling, and I think it's gonna be a close game, but I have the Browns eking one out at home. Next, I have my Los Angeles Rams playing the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas. I have the Los Angeles Rams as homers. It's gonna sound homer any week I pick the Rams because you see the big RWO sign back there. But look, the Rams have the number one scoring offense in the league. Raise your hand if you called that, because no one in the entire world called that. I don't even think Sean McVay knew that was possible. All right, maybe I'm overstepping boundaries there. But regardless, it's the number one scoring offense in the league, and I think it's a tale of two teams that have completely flipped the script. I think you're looking at a team with the Rams that has always been really defensive-minded. Since the Greatest Show on Turf, it seems as though they've been defensive-minded. They've had guys like Steven Jackson and, Zach Stacy, Trey Mason. Now they have Todd Gurley. So they've had running backs and they've had defense. Well, now, and the defense can come. But now I think what you're looking at is it's a team that's kind of turned offensive, and it's not a shocker. It's run by an offensive-minded head coach in Sean McVay, who has introduced concepts galore, concepts that you would see in a New England offense, coached by Josh McDaniels, concepts that you would see in last year's Falcons offense, coached by Kyle Shanahan, and concepts that you would see in a Sean Payton offense, coached on the Saints. So, I think it's definitely interesting. I think McVay has fixed Goff. You can make the argument he still has plenty of time to go, but at least we know right now that Jared Goff has been fixed. We don't know how good he'll be. This offense has been fixed. Like, you don't go from 32 to number 1 in the league overnight, unless you're Sean McVay, apparently. It's been night and day better. Dallas Cowboys, though, I move on to their side. They've really flipped the script, in my opinion. You know, known for their offense last year with the rookie sensations and Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott. Now it seems they're more of a defensive-minded team all of a sudden. Their defense terrorized Arizona last week, and DeMarcus Lawrence won NFC Defensive Player of the Month. He's been phenomenal, and he's going to be a tough matchup for a young right tackle in Rob Havenstein. I have the Rams eking out a win on the road, 31-30, going 3-1, heading to Seattle next week. It should be a good one. It's probably going to be up there for America's Game of the Week, so be sure to tune in for that. Moving on, this is a great game, I got to tell you. Minnesota Vikings are taking on the Detroit Lions in Minnesota. I'm taking the Lions here. I really want to take Minnesota, but I took the Lions last week, and they suffered one of the worst losses that you could have. I mean, it was at the 1-yard line. They came literally a yard short. So what I think you're looking at is a pissed-off Detroit Lions team, although Matt Stafford took the loss about as calm as you'll ever see. Still, you know, there was some officiating that I wasn't cool with. You know, a friend of mine, he's a huge Lions fan, and I talked with him, and it was just a horrible call. But as he said, Lions fans are kind of used to getting those calls towards the ends of the game. So, you know, another fourth quarter comeback by Stafford actually ended up getting faltered by the officiating crew. It was a crazy game. But anyway, moving into this, you have a Minnesota Vikings team that is just firing on all cylinders. They got Case Keenum, who I said last week was going to have a good game against Tampa Bay and lead the Vikings to a win. So I got that right. Case Keenum is 3-0 against Tampa Bay, so that's huge. But the problem is, did we find that Case Keenum can only play against Tampa Bay? Actually, this brings up another interesting point. Case Keenum lost last year while on the Rams against the Detroit Lions, and he threw for 3 or 4 touchdowns in a game that, I mean, you'll never see Case Keenum play that well, or so I thought until last week. Case Keenum played lights out against Detroit last year, and it came down in the end, and the defense couldn't hold, and Case Keenum threw an interception, kind of forcing something. That was in Detroit. This time, he plays at home for Minnesota. Sam Bradford has been ruled out. Case Keenum coming off a great week. We'll see what happens. He's got great weapons. Obviously Dalvin Cook is looking phenomenal, but then, the duo of Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen has really panned out, and then they haven't really even gotten Kyle Rudolph involved yet, so, options galore. And then, with the Lions on that side of the ball, you're looking at Matthew Stafford, and you're trying to get guys like Kenny Golladay back into it, because he had what was interesting. It was an interesting performance week 1, intriguing, like this guy could be the red zone threat, and he's kind of been phased out a little bit. Probably want to get him going. They'll probably throw to him quite a bit. And I have the Lions stealing one here, and I could totally see the Vikings winning, and I mean they probably will, because maybe the Lions are just that team I pick and they lose, whatever. But I think it's going to be a great game. I think the Lions will eke this one out. Maybe a last second Darius Slay interception. Case Keenum loses it again on an interception after playing well against the Lions. Moving on, we have the Houston Texans taking on the Tennessee Titans at home. Deshaun Watson, I'm going to give him props because I have not been a fan of his at all. I've been pretty vocal about it. I feel as though he got a little bit overrated. But Deshaun Watson came to play in a hostile environment in Foxborough, a place where they gobble up rookies, and rookies have no rookie quarterback has ever beaten a Bill Belichick coached Patriots team in Foxborough. So it was really impressive to see Deshaun Watson go toe-to-toe with Tom Brady, as crazy as we're saying. But at the same time, you need to temper expectations, because I'm going to kind of pour the water bucket over the fire. Basically say, Deshaun Watson looked good. There were some throws he missed, but he looked pretty good. My issue is, I think this Patriots defense, there's something seriously wrong with it. I think you're looking at the offense, and I think it's a Tom Brady show. And one of the reasons why he is one of the greatest quarterbacks who ever played the game, he's carrying the offense. He's carrying the team, in my opinion. I think the defense, they're rated, 32nd in the NFL. That's not good. Deshaun Watson, you can either be that person that believes Deshaun Watson has figured it out and is, ready to go on a tear, or you can be the person that tempers expectations and starts to wonder if the Patriots defense has come down back to earth. I'm going with the latter, but that is just me. So that's Deshaun Watson, like the preview from last week. Another team, but they actually got a win last week, unlike Deshaun Watson. The Tennessee Titans got a huge win against the Seattle Seahawks. And while, albeit it was in Tennessee, they kicked the crap out of them. And the score does not indicate how badly Tennessee beat Seattle. Now, Tennessee, I've been saying it over and over again. They're my Super Bowl pick. I love Marcus Mariota. DeMarco Murray's pretty good. But we've really seen the emergence of Derrick Henry as well as the number 2 back. Or possibly the lead back. We don't really know. I mean, they're kind of splitting carries at this point. But we really saw Rashard Matthews and his ability to create, yards after the catch on that crazy 50-plus yard touchdown against Seattle on a screen pass. Corey Davis is officially ruled out for this game, so could be trouble. But I am going with the Tennessee Titans over the Houston Texans. I think that Marcus Mariota is better than Deshaun Watson. I think both defenses are good. I think the Texans' defense is better. But I'm going to go with the Titans here. I think the Titans are a better team. I think their offense will just continue to build off of their performance against Seattle as just as good a defense as they were. And I think the Titans will continue to roll on and win the division. And, of course, as I mentioned, the Super Bowl. So I have the Titans winning this one. Moving on, we have the New England Patriots at home taking on Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers. Let me tell you, Panthers, they're sitting there at 2-1. Patriots are 2-1. Carolina can't treat this like they're 2-1 because this season is about to slip from them. I said it when they were undefeated. I said the Panthers were the worst undefeated team, and then they got blown out by the Saints, who hadn't won a game. I think this could be the game that the Patriots need to get back on track with that defense, build some confidence. I think Cam Newton is going to struggle like he did last week. I think he's really going to struggle. I think a veteran defensive coordinator like a Matt Patricia is going to throw all crazy blitzes at Cam Newton and really make him sit there and throw in the pocket. I have the Patriots. I said they were going to shellac the Texans last week. Didn't happen, but I believe it's going to be a blowout. Tom Brady throws for 4 touchdowns and just continues his trend of dominance. Patriots win big. Next, I have the New York Jets taking on Jacksonville Jaguars, coming off a huge win, but they are considered the London team, as they're the team that seems most comfortable to play overseas. I am going with the New York Jets to upset the Jaguars at home. And the reason is, I think the Jaguars are going to come back down to earth really quickly. A lot of people are like, are these Jaguars for real? They really just kicked the crap out of the Ravens. Blake Bortles looked really good, throwing for 4 touchdowns. And they just look dominant in London. Yeah, that's in London. But this Jets defense is no joke. They don't have games like that. They are no joke. When you have a secondary that is basically headlined by 2 elite, and I'm already ready to call them elite. Jamal Adams and Marcus May are just phenomenal safeties. If you haven't watched them, you have to watch them. They have done just such a nice job. Jamal Adams looks every bit the number one prospect I rated him. I had him and Fournette 1A, 1B, so he looks great. And Fournette, they'll be playing each other. Ironically enough, I think Fournette looks great as well. So I have the Jets. I don't think it's going to be a dominant game, but you need to keep in mind last week, basically, Josh McCown, crazy enough, he looked great. And he was one of the highest performers last week for, the Jets against the Dolphins. So I'm going to go with a Josh McCown-led Jets offense. Scores enough points, not a ton of points, but enough points to beat the Jaguars' tough defense. Moving on, the Baltimore Ravens are taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. A lot of people want to kind of abandon the Steelers after their really tough loss in Chicago. I told you guys, I called that, and I really felt like, combine it with the fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers hadn't won in Chicago since 1995. Basically their consistency or their lack of consistency on the road. And I don't know. I really didn't like the matchup for them. I felt like the Chicago Bears offensive line was going to push them around with guys like Kyle Long, Cody Whitehair, Horonis Grosu, and Josh Sitton, and sure enough they did. And you had guys like, Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen are just a crazy duo. And if Chicago used them more against Green Bay, the game would have been much closer. But as you saw, Pittsburgh really couldn't stop them, and that's why the game was so fun to watch, so close, and that's really why I just had a hunch on the Bears. It's hard to go with Mike Glennon over Ben Roethlisberger. Just one is completely on another level, and that's just being nice. But I think, moving on to this week, I think the Steelers bounce back. I think this could be an offensive showing. Everyone's quick to say that, the Ravens are going to come back from a brutal beatdown in London, but who knows? Joe Flacco looks every bit terrible as I felt he would be coming off of back surgery. Back is no joke, so now we're learning. And I think the Steelers now, I think they're going to be interesting because I think they're starting to use Juju Smith-Schuster, their second-round pick out of USC. They're starting to use him more in the slot, and they kind of prefer him more over Eli Rogers, who it seems like he's completely surpassed him on the depth chart. So I think it'll be interesting. Le'Veon Bell hasn't quite broken out yet this season. I think that's still yet to happen, and that could happen. And the Steelers haven't won in Baltimore in a while. So I think, something has to change, I think, this week, the Steelers over Baltimore. Moving on, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the New York Giants. The Giants are in a really bad spot. 0-3. They have the worst coach in football. Losing in the way they did on a 61-yard field goal from Jake Elliott of the Philadelphia Eagles to a rival, nonetheless. And that was looking like a really good road win, comeback win for the Giants. They're in a hole. They're 0-3. They got a great defense. They got a great defensive coordinator, but their offense is almost unwatchable. When you have that much talent, you have Odell Beckham Jr., you have Sterling Shepard, you have Brandon Marshall, and then you have Evan Ingram, and you can't protect Eli long enough to have him throw the ball to any of those three, that's an issue. Any of those four, that's an issue. Eric Flowers is actually, I want to say he's single-handedly destroying the roster or the team, but that would be putting it lightly. And especially, I also think Ben McAdoo has a lot to do with it by keeping him out there. I think you're going to have to start, you're going to have to start Justin Pugh at left tackle. I mean, Eric Flowers has been that bad. Eli Manning now is just anticipating the pressure. He can't even sit there and think. So it's looking like the beginning of the end for the Giants. I might have been completely wrong on my Super Bowl prediction, which is fine. I'll live. Being wrong isn't the end of the world. But the Giants this week playing Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay, I don't like it at all. Tampa Bay is coming off a loss last week I just like to me, I don't see them. And you know that my biggest thing is, I just like as great as this defense is for the Giants. I mean, enough is enough. Like their defense is going to be on the field a lot. The way their offense can't move the ball, so I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in this game. I have a 10-point game. I think, you know, you'll see a comeback towards the end, but you know I think the money has to be on Tampa Bay. Giants unfortunately go 0-4. Moving on, the Los Angeles Chargers take on the Philadelphia Eagles. Fletcher Cox has been ruled out, and that's a huge loss. But I'm still going with the Philadelphia Eagles over the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers are probably going to prove me wrong, and this is probably the game that's basically like, are you kidding me? You're not going to pick them? I don't like the Chargers this year for more than one reason. Phillip Rivers is basically, I just don't think he fits what, and now his name escapes me, Anthony Lynn is trying to do. Anthony Lynn, keep in mind, was a running backs coach for years. This is a guy that wants to run the football. Was in Buffalo running the football. I don't know why they didn't just sign him or hire him, but he was their interim coach last year. But he wants to run the football. They have Melvin Ingram. Got banged up a little bit last week. I'm sure he'll play. I just don't think Phillip Rivers fits this offense at all. And I think that there was an issue, and I think you saw it last week. He seems to have these games where they're not just bad, they're terrible. And the fact that their team was in it is a testament to how good their defense has been, especially against an opponent like the Chiefs. But the Eagles are riding high off that win, emotional win. Carson Wentz is playing good football, no matter what the critics say. Carson Wentz is playing good football with really a non-existent, in my opinion, a non-existent backfield. So with no run game and he's playing that well, I expect this to be a close game, and I expect the Eagles to win and push the Chargers to 0-4. So moving on, the Arizona Cardinals and the San Francisco 49ers game is going to be fun to watch, right? I have the 49ers winning. Huge upset, I know. On the road, they just came off a brutal loss at home versus Los Angeles, where they gave up 41 points. They scored 39 and lost. It's hard when a team scores 39 points and loses the game. But in reality, this game should have been a blowout. You know, in my opinion, of course. But the Rams shot themselves in the foot. They had two unforced errors that really put the 49ers in position, especially the muffed punt by Tavon Austin that put them right in the red zone, which they ended up scoring on a Brian Hoyer quarterback scramble. Hoyer played well in that game, regardless of what people think. And I think, you know, Carson Palmer with no protection, because this offensive line looks awful. I think this 49ers defense is going to really be a pain. And albeit, you know, they're at home, DeMarcus Lawrence tore through the offensive line, Malik Collins as well. There's absolutely no reason that DeForest Buckner, who is one of the best interior defensive linemen in all of football, can't. There's no reason that Tarek Armstead can't. There's no reason that Earl Mitchell can't. Tank Carradine, and of course Solomon Thomas. So when you have that much ammunition on the defensive line and that bad of an offensive line, I just don't like the matchup. And if they have to, the Cardinals have no running game to speak of. I mean, Chris Johnson's their starter, and I mean he ran for not even 2 yards a carry. So you're looking at probably a Carlos Hyde. Like, they take the lead, and then Carlos Hyde runs out the clock, and they play good defense. I think that's really what you're looking at. I think the 49ers win that game. Further proving that the Arizona Cardinals might need to move on sooner than later. The Denver Broncos playing the Oakland Raiders. Oakland got abused against the Washington Redskins last week on Sunday Night Football. I was shocked. I did not expect that. Good for Rams fans, you know, because I was at that Rams-Redskins game, And I was a little worried because I wasn't sure how good this Redskins team was, but they really came to play. Greg Minuski is a nasty defensive coordinator. His team is nasty, and they're ready to, make a run in this NFC East that is seemingly wide open. So, yeah, I definitely wasn't expecting that. The Raiders last week. And the Broncos, they lost the game against the Buffalo Bills. So credit the Bills. It's just different when you play in Buffalo. But at home, that is the biggest, in my opinion. I mean, you could make the argument, the 12th man in Seattle is huge. But I think the biggest disparity of a home field advantage happens in Denver because the altitude. I mean, yes, division rival. They've played there. I still don't think there's any way to practice that until you're there and you're in it. So I do have Denver, the way their defense is playing. It's still monstrous. And, they have they're able to stop the run. They're hardly giving up anything. And their secondary is phenomenal. I know I jinxed Trevor Siemian saying that he was, he was good enough to win games. But I like Trevor Siemian, and C.J. Anderson is playing his best football of his career. So I'm going Denver over Oakland. And moving on, we have the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Indianapolis Colts. It's going to be a Sunday night game. Clearly, they thought Andrew Luck would be playing in this game because it's not that appealing. But I would almost make the argument against that because the Indianapolis Colts are a different team with Jacoby Brissett at the helm. And I think this game is somewhat interesting. ESPN Pick'em, actually, 94% of people picked Seattle. But I don't think those people have really watched Jacoby Brissett, and albeit it was against the Cleveland Browns last week, Jacoby Brissett looked good, and against the Arizona Cardinals defense, which is pretty good in itself, Jacoby Brissett looked pretty good against them as well, managing the game. He really came out and played, and he won them the football game against the Browns, though. I saw, he took the next step, and once he's only going to get more comfortable with this offense, and then Andrew Luck will be back, and all will be, good again, I guess, in Indianapolis. But Jacoby Brissett is playing some good football. This is a sneaky one. I have Seattle winning. I don't think it's going to be, a blowout or anything. I think it'll be pretty close, and I would not be shocked if Jacoby Brissett leads the Colts with a shocking victory on Sunday Night Football. I think it's definitely a game that I would tune in for because I think Jacoby Brissett is entertainment value. He can run and he can throw, and he's got a nice arm, but he's got some really sneaky mobility, and he's got deceptive speed. So I'd watch out for that. Finally, we're going to wrap this video up. The Kansas City Chiefs, the number one team in the league, according to many power rankings. They're 3-0. They're taking on the 2-1 Washington Redskins. I had a hard time picking this game, but I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs because they're at home. That's the simple reason. I think it's going to be a 27-20 victory for Kansas City. I think looking at the fact that Kareem Hunt has been unstoppable, and for whatever reason they barely ran him last week, and then they finally ran him and he went off. I think you're looking at, Kareem Hunt is pretty much the difference maker in this game, and he'll be the difference maker moving forward. Alex Smith is, again, he's still playing at a high level, probably with Patrick Mahomes in his rearview mirror, but regardless, Kareem Hunt has changed this offense, and the defense is still playing at a high level. I worry about the Chiefs in the playoffs when they have to go against tight ends like a Rob Gronkowski, because guys that can stop Rob Gronkowski, pretty much it's a really small name, and a list of names, and one of them is Eric Berry, who they lost for the year. So I think that's the one thing that worries me, because Eric Berry is one of the best safeties in football. But the Chiefs are rolling, and this Redskins team is rolling as well, and that defense is looking good. So it's going to be a fun game to watch. Great Monday Night Football game. It's one of those games when they're going over the list and they scheduled this game, and at the time they thought it'd be good, but they didn't think it'd be great. And sure enough, I think this will be one of the best games of the season. You're looking at two teams that are really fun to watch, and they, have run roughshod over at least one of the good teams that they face. So I think it'll be a fun game, but I have the Chiefs winning 27-20. That is week 4 for these picks. Definitely subscribe, comment, do whatever. It helps me a lot. You can follow my other stuff, downtownrams.com, where I cover the Los Angeles Rams, the NFL draft, and fantasy football occasionally. So you definitely want to go there. I have a podcast as well, the Downtown Rams podcast. So if you want to help and be supportive, a subscription to my channel would be very supportive. I'll be trying to do more, different videos and whatnot. But I really like this pick'em thing. I like, going through the games, picking them, and you guys, coming at me, with, who I had, what I didn't have, where I made a mistake, where I didn't make a mistake. So definitely, just keep your eye on me. If I do something wrong, if I pick the wrong team, if I hated on your team, by all means, shout in the comment section. But if it's negative, at least give me a subscription. I at least deserve that much. But no, thank you guys so much. This is Jake Ellenbogen signing off the Inside My Head video podcast. Thank you guys, and peace.